Ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the Provo River, here in the great desert region of central Utah. And this is the beginning of the new program, Fellowship for Disabled Fishing Persons of America. As you can see here, our founder and Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Patrick Barnes, is teaching us the basics of survival instinctual fishing by using a sportsman's, there he goes, he's out there, he's dragging his line, by using a sportsman's stainless steel survival knife, which has a unscrewable rubber watertight sealed top that includes a fishing kit, your basic bait, your 20-pound line, a sinker, and a bobber. Now this knife is specially designed for rugged all-terrain conditions so that if you are stuck somewhere and you need to survive by eating fish. It has special cutting. On the main blade is a diamond cut sharp blade. On the back of the blade it has two sections of serrated cutting. One is a generalized serrated cutting for cutting anything from an animal head to opening a carcass to cutting small limbs and trees and even metal. At the back of the blade near the handle is a deeper, more serrated cutting section for cutting logs. We find that these options are very necessary out in the wild for a number of reasons. As you can see, he's dipping his walking stick in to check the density of the mud that he's walking on so that he does not go into a sinkhole, as this is a survival situation and we would hate for him to fall into this rigid 45-degree temperature water today. Remember that while you're out in the wild, having proper nutrition is a matter of life and death, and having proper body temperature is as well. You'll notice that he's trying not to go any deeper than his knees, as this is vital. In the evening, the temperatures drop here, upwards of 20 degrees. And we want to make sure that we're not soaking wet and end up with hypothermia in the middle of the night. Oftentimes people that find themselves in these dire situations that get wet or sweat too much during the day fall asleep at night when the temperatures drop. Hypothermia sets in while you're sleeping, slows your heart rate and your blood circulation down to such that you fall asleep, and oftentimes the unfortunate outcome is death. You can see that how he is approaching a naturally aspirated log here in the river. It appears to have been fallen down several years ago. It's perhaps a 100-plus-year-old tree that he's walking along. Oftentimes underneath trees that sit on the benches or banks of rivers and lakes and ponds often have little burrows underneath them. Sometimes the beginning place for a family of beavers to start building a home. And it's also a great area for some of the southern parts of the United States and South America. When you have a log like this, if you reach under it, you'll find really large catfish and other type of fish and amphibious animals in there that you can capture and eat. Some may not taste as good as others, however, they will maintain a healthy level of protein and minerals in your body while you're out in the wild. Please take note that when you're in a situation like this, it's very important to clean the animal, cook the animal, eat it, and properly bury the leftovers or any part of the carcass that you're not going to eat, so that you're less likely to attract predators such as bears, cougars, mountain lions, coyotes, foxes, lynx, muskrats, raccoons, and birds of prey. Often people don't realize that even an owl that hasn't eaten for a couple of days smells a carcass in the middle of the night, he will attack you. He'll go for the carcass, and if he can't get it, he'll poke your eyeballs out and eat it. But that's not going to happen to us here, because we're professional disabled fishermen and we are highly trained. With that in mind, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, please do not try this on your own without a specially licensed and trained guide such as Dr. Pat and myself, Dr. Ari Goldfarb. You can see how he's taking a break now on the log, but he's still fishing. And the reason he's taking a break on the log is to preserve some of his body energy, which will give him the energy to start a campfire, to set up camp, cut down some bushes and tree limbs to make a lean-to. You'll notice it appears as if he is smoking. However, we don't smoke because it's unhealthy, but there are special herbs out in the wild that if you do partake of these herbs, it calms you. And when it calms you, it'll take away the anxiety and fear of dying in this crazy wilderness atmosphere. Now, this area is well known for its black bear and its mountain lion inhabitants. And so we're very, very careful as dusk approaches and night will be coming soon. You can hear in the background some of the birds, the swallows and blue jays, and even an owl, as these are nocturnal animals and will become quite vocal as it becomes cooler and darker out. There are 2 times of the day while you're out in a wild environment like this that are most effective for fishing. One is early in the morning during sunrise, when fish come to the surface looking for food. And then later in the late afternoon, as the sun is setting, they also are more likely to come to the surface looking for food. And that is why we have chosen to do this, fishing at this time. Now, earlier this morning we chose not to fish on this expedition because we hunted down and killed a bear, which we ate. Dr. Barnes, how's the fishing going over there?
Quite well, actually. I'm having a few little bites and a smoke.
He's had a few bites, ladies and gentlemen, and he's having a puff of the wild berry herb, which is keeping his body warm and relaxed. You'll notice his spotting technique as he moves his head to the left and right.
Natural herb. You like this herb?
The natural herb oftentimes will make Dr. Pat think that he's seeing 3 fish when there's actually only 1. So we have to be careful that the hallucinogenic properties of it don't affect him too much. Now he's casting his line out, and if you look closely you can see that 12-inch trout right there swimming around, very similar to the one that he caught last night and fed us for the evening. Also take note that in the evening, when the temperatures cool off, the water becomes colder and more dangerous. One must be very, very careful. That was not a 7-Eleven cup that he was drinking from, because we filter our own water here from the river. That seems to be the remnants of a camper, as we are very green conscious. We clean up, pick up, and properly dispose of trash. Speaking of green, you have to be careful with some of the foods that you eat in the wild because of one of the known diseases, such as gangrene, which grows like moss, and chlamydia. You can also end up with spatinal disorientation if you stare at the water too much while the sun is brightly shining upon it. As Dr. Pat approaches us now, we will hear from him more about this experience.
Our Maverick and Smoke, that fish, my fishing line, my walking stick.
As he is displaying to us the different tools of the trade here. He's got his bait.
This bait.
He's got his fish bait.
Power bait.
He's using power bait on this one. And if he doesn't get a fish here soon, we'll be going without food this evening.
We'll go upstream.
Perhaps we'll have to pick some berries from the trees or eat some grasses. You can see he's checking again the density of the mud and moss so that he doesn't step into a sinkhole here. The water doesn't look very deep, but just a few feet in front of him, this river is over 65 feet deep and has everything from brown and rainbow trout up to great northern pike, which grow in length up to 48 inches.
And marijuana.
And there is oftentimes
Piranha and marijuana.
Parawana, which is a crossbreed of piranha that come from the ocean into the fresh waters who have been eating or smoking marijuana, thus the name Parawana. They're often very silly fish, but they mistakenly will bite at you. Now he approaches the shore with a couple of minnows he caught in his cup, which we will have to survive on for the next 20 hours or so. You'll notice in the background of the camera, it appears to be a park bench or picnic table up above. However, what we did is we took some waste material on the side of the road and we built out a table to sit at tonight. Well, once again we thank you for watching the wonderful pleasures, the dynamics, the adventures of disabled Americans fishing in America. Tune in next week as we travel to the Amazon River, where we will fish for alligators, boa constrictors, and some of the largest predators known to mankind. Thanks again. We'll see you shortly.